G'day Oz Trackers, here we are with Remy from Enerdrive at the moment. We're going to go through on how to use the Enerdrive system and what that does for battery management and talk about all the do's and don'ts and the troubleshooting. Austrack this year for 2020 has teamed up with Enerdrive to give our customers a better experience with their camping, long in jeopardy of off-the-grid camping, and to make sure we have a really good quality product, as we always do, and trying to endeavour in always improving our product with Austrack campers. Remy, I just want to talk to you today about what we've done here with the battery management system. Can we start with the inverter? We've put a 2000 watt inverter in here. Can you just tell us a little bit about the fundamentals of it, how it should work, and what that does for our camping?
Sure. So we're really happy to be involved with you guys as well. It's nice change. We're really looking forward to seeing what happens in the future. But the 2000 watt inverter, particularly here, it's a transfer model inverter. So the brilliant part about that is the second that you plug in the mains from the outside of your camper, it automatically passes straight through the inverter. It all happens automatically. You don't need to do anything from your side. This unit does have a built-in breaker on the front of it as well. So if you were to plug in a device that is not working the way that it should, it's got a short circuit or anything like that, you're totally safe. It's just going to trip the breaker on the front of the unit, and you just won't have any output from there. There's also the display screen, which we've installed in the campers in a nice and easy location just at the front door, so you can control the inverter, turning it on, turning it off. Nice and easy to use, quick and simple.
That's great, and that saves us, having to lift that mattress, get into that cabinet. We can control everything down there from where that control panel is. Really simple system to use.
Yeah, it makes it nice and simple for you.
Excellent. Now, how would I go about, if I was the average person and thought, hey, gee, I'm going camping, I'd love to take the kettle along. How do I go about working out what I can and can't use as far as that inverter is concerned? What power will I get out of it?
It is a little bit hard at times, especially when it comes to things like kettles, because they have a heating element. So when you actually start that up, even though the rating on the bottom of the kettle may only be about 1800 watts and you're looking at a 2000 watt inverter thinking totally fine.
Yeah, good to go, yeah.
The problem is that it actually surges above that during startup periods. If you're unsure, the quickest and easiest way to do it is to go down to Bunnings, and you can actually buy a plug-in watt meter, and you actually plug it into your normal power point at home and then plug the device into the back of the watt meter. Start it up, it's going to show you straight away exactly what the startup draw is, and you're going to know straight away, yes, it's going to work, or no, it's not, it's exceeding what it's going to be able to achieve.
So even on that startup, we just need to make sure and ensure that whatever we want to use or take away camping with us on startup will be under 2000 watts.
Exactly right, yeah. If you're under the 2000 watt mark, not a problem. Obviously, you need to manage your load slightly, like you can't have two 2000 watt devices going at the same time, but just comes down to what you're achieving. At the end of the day, if you overload it, it's going to start screaming at you and beeping and alarming, saying, hey, you've done the wrong thing, but it's not really going to do any damage to the system, provided you don't do it all the time.
So it has some good warning beeps and things in place, so let us know that, hey, whatever you're doing, turn off what you're doing and have another crack.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent, excellent. Now you're saying that it is a bit of a set and forget sort of system, is it? Once that's all wired in and our customers are picking these campers up and that's all completed and done for them, we obviously go through a bit of an explanation on how they sort of work, which this video will help all those customers today. Can you just explain that set and forget sort of system for me?
There is some settings that you can change with the units, but what we're doing is a standard with you guys, setting them out of the box. There shouldn't need to be any changes realistically made. The only things that you need to do with that inverter is turn it on and turn it off. That's all you need to do when you want to actually use it. If you want to change things and you're not 100% certain, just give us at Enerdrive a call, explain what you're trying to do, and we'll give you the information you need. We've got well over 7 tech staff now, purely on the phones 24/7, just answering your questions during the week.
Excellent. That's great to know that our customers have got that ongoing support too. A lot of our customers don't always understand a battery management setup. So it's good to know we've got that support also.
You've always got that backup. So if you've got a question or you're not sure about what the unit's doing, just give us a call. More than happy to help you out.
And let's go back to how do we store? When we've finished our camping, we want to put our camper away. Can we just leave the inverter turned on, or should we turn it off? What's the best way to go?
You always want to turn it off. It's basically a silent killer of a battery. So if you have the unit turned on, the capacitors in the unit are obviously drawing 12 volts and then generating 240 volts. So it's a constant draw on the system. So it's almost like a parasitic load, if you would. So if you leave it on, yes, it is going to continuously draw. Works out to be about an amp every hour thereabouts. So it is a reasonable amount, especially if you consider leaving that on for a 7-day period and the camper may not be plugged into power. You're going to run out pretty quick. So realistically, just turn the inverter on when you want to use any 240 volt devices in the camper. That's it. As soon as you're finished using them, turn them back off again, perfectly fine.
Excellent. And as we know, with AGM batteries and deep cycle batteries, as soon as they get to a certain level, they do start decreasing the life of the battery.
Yeah.
And so it is always a good idea to keep that inverter turned off.
Absolutely. You always want to limit your draw, so especially when we're dealing with AGMs. You've only really got that top 50% is what you want to be using, so about half of what your capacity is, not all the way to flat, because that's just doing detrimental damage to the batteries.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, Remy, let's talk about the battery charger now. I know in our system in here we've put a 40 amp charger, which is also a load compensator as well.
Yep.
Tell me the difference on how that works. Obviously, a lot of our customers think as long as you're plugged into power with that 240 volt lead, you can run and do whatever you like, but they don't understand what that does to the batteries or doesn't do to the batteries. Tell me why that EnerDrive system is so beneficial to have that.
We're one of the only chargers on the market that has a low compensation built in. Basically what that means is that as the system reaches full charge and sits in float, the charger is constantly looking at the voltage of the batteries and supplying that amount of power continuously. So say you turn a couple of lights on, you start pulling around 2 amps, give it maybe a minute or two, the charger is going to notice that the voltage is starting to dip. Obviously the larger the load, the quicker it's going to respond, but it's going to start to ramp up just to support that load and remain in float. So instead of it reaching say 12.7 volts, which is what you'd normally see in a normal charger if you turned your inverter on, for example, and the charger returns back to bulk charging, it will remain in float, supplying a small amount of voltage with the correct amount of amperage to maintain that battery and keep it topped up. So essentially what you're using, your loads are coming off your charger, they're not coming off your battery bank.
Excellent.
So it's limiting your cycle count on your batteries, extending the life of your batteries long term.
Yes, we know a lot of chargers out there, if you've got a lead plugged into your camper charging your batteries, but yet you're also drawing power, what that essentially does is steals power from your batteries to run whatever device you're using, but also gives those batteries constant charge and eventually, cooks our batteries.
Correct.
So it's great to have that system in there, allowing it to do both and cover both in a very safe way.
Yeah, it's trying to, basically it's limiting your cycle count, which is in turn extending that longevity of your batteries over the long term, how long you're going to have the camper. If you're looking at other chargers, they just continuously return to bulk, and it's that continuous vicious cycle every single time that it reaches full and you turn a reasonable sized load on, straight back to bulk charging again until it gets back to full, where this guy's just going to maintain itself in float. The only time it's going to get out of float is if you exceed what the maximum output of the charger is, which is 40 amps. So if it's putting in 40, still not maintaining, then it will return to bulk.
You have to have something pretty crazy plugged in though if you're going to be drawing 40 amps out of it, let's face it.
Yeah, if we had the inverter on for a reasonable amount of time, it will return to bulk, but that's doing its job because it has pulled a reasonable amount of power out of that system.
Excellent. And for troubleshooting for any of our customers that feel like they're not getting out of the system what they expected they might have, is there anything they can check quickly to sort of troubleshoot a problem or anything like that?
Yeah, there is a few things you can have a look at. So quickly and easily on the screen here, provided the unit's plugged in, if you just press the menu button, it's going to cycle through the functions and the settings of the actual unit itself. Again, it is set and forget unit, so we will have it set up correctly for you when you take the camper from Austrack. But obviously, things can change. You might not have noticed the kids might have got in there and started pressing some buttons and whatnot. So we can go through that pretty quickly and just double check it. But provided that those settings are correct, just give EnerDrive a call. We're more than happy to walk you through it over the phone, go through the checks that we can do. And if we can't figure it out, we'll put you in touch with the dealer in the area who can have a bit better inspection of what's happening.
Again, that fantastic support that we know that we get from EnerDrive, having that relation built already this year. Super happy with the product, super happy with the results that we're getting to our customers, and the confidence knowing that they can go away and keep their batteries topped up with a great system.
That's the aim then. The end goal is always to keep the customer happy. We're trying our best to obviously give the best support that we possibly can in all instances.
No, that's great. We are super excited to be with EnerDrive this year, and I think it's it goes hand in hand with a lot of things that we do with our product, with our continuous growth and R&D. So good to have it on board.
Yeah, awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you.